Hey, welcome to Queen in the Classroom. I am your host, Amy Allen, and I want to show off my mug for today. I use this one quite a bit, and I know that teachers probably get a lot of mugs, but I am always down for a nice, witty, beautiful mug. I've gotten quite a few over the years from students. This one's one of my favorites because it's Queen of Everything. I know it reads backwards on the video, and then it has a beautiful crown on this side. My lipstick's already on there. That's fun, but love a good mug. So if you want to get me a teacher gift, a witty mug is always the way to go. I super dig it. I have another one from a student that says adulting on it. I use that one quite a bit, and that one can fit 2 cups of coffee in it. So cheers. Before we get started here, I'm going to take a little sip of my coffee. Okay, I want to talk about how I do things a little bit different. If you haven't noticed yet, then I am somewhat of an unusual teacher. I think I look at teaching the way that I would have wanted my middle school years to go. And middle school always gets this, I shouldn't say always, don't say always and don't say never. I would say a lot of times middle school gets this bad reputation of being those awkward years and just a lot of changes happening, but I don't know why that's a negative. Why is that seen as a negative? Because literally everybody's going through the changes. So it's kind of like embrace those weirdness. And we've already talked about how your weirdness can be your superpower, because if everyone thought the same, behaved the same, spoke the same, it's a quite boring world, really. So I think one of the many reasons why I became a teacher is that I want to be the type of middle school teacher that I wanted when I was in middle school. So a lot of times I think about those things. And that's what I want to talk about today, is why I do things just a little bit differently. And I know some of my colleagues do these same exact things. So it's not that I'm reinventing the wheel. It's not that I'm the only one who does these. I do have quite a few colleagues who do very similar things. And a great teacher is one that can steal, I don't want to say borrow, like you steal other people's material, you adapt it to what's going to work for you, and then you make it authentic to you in your teaching. And then that's when we thrive, especially if it helps students along the way. Is that's the goal, right? Is to help students. So a lot of times I'll take something that I've either read about or from past experience, or something that I've seen another colleague do, and then I will make it my own, make it natural, and go try it with my students. Because what's the harm in trying something new? I'm always that teacher who, let's say the technology teacher wants to try some new app or program, then I will always volunteer to try. And I tell my students right off the bat, hey, this is brand new. It might fail, but at least we're gonna try. I think that role modeling right there, that knowing that it's okay to fail, but we're going to try it anyway, will serve them later in the future, because they will then know, oh my gosh, remember that time in English where we tried that one lesson in 7th grade and it totally failed? I mean, we wasted what, 3 days worth of class time? Let me stop you there. We didn't waste anything, because we learned that we can fail at something and still come out great on the other side, because we learned what didn't work. And then you try something different until it does work. So there's never any time wasted in my classroom. I actually had a conversation. We haven't even gotten to what I want to talk about, by the way. This is how my class goes. So my normal class during the day. So I was talking with a former student last week, and he said, I remember a lot of things about your class, Miss Allen. I said, oh yeah? And I said, I tend to remember weird moments, not necessarily like the huge spectrum of things, but there are definite moments that stand out to me. And so I asked him, I said, what kind of stands out to you? And he said, there was this one day where I just didn't want to learn. So I knew that if I would just talk to you about Germany, because there was a time when I lived in Germany, if if I just talked to you about Germany, then I knew I could waste a lot of class time. So that's why I was asking about where you lived, and then we looked it up on maps, and I said, can I give you a hint? I said, I knew what you were doing, but that's not time wasted to me. I was building a relationship with you, and all of the other students in the room were also talking, mingling, socializing. So they're all learning those social cues and social interactions and how to interact with one another. So while they were doing that and you were talking with me, there was definitely no time wasted. And he goes, oh no, I knew what, he goes, I know that there wasn't any time wasted. But he said, I didn't want to learn anything curriculum based. So I think I've drilled it into my students' head that they know I'm 100% in control of my classroom, 100% of the time. And knowing that, then I can stop any one of those moments. Oh, I don't want to talk about Germany today. Okay, we're going to move on. I can stop at any time. But if I can find a way to create a relationship out of a situation or a lesson, or even just not even a lesson, just a conversation, I'm going to do that. Because those are the moments, he's going to remember that moment where we talked about Germany, because he speaks almost fluent German. I learned a lot from him with my German roots. I learned a lot from him that year. I learned that I was mispronouncing words. That's okay. You can always learn something new. But he's going to remember that conversation more so than my grammar lesson on types of sentences. I mean, hopefully he remembers types of sentences because that would also serve him. But I care about the relationship part. So let's dig into some of these things about what I do differently. And a large part of it is because of my middle school experience. So first one is, I don't choose groups. And I know, okay, don't bash me in the comment section. I don't choose groups. Here's why. I was always that type of student that could get along with anybody. And I was always I'm a type A, so I got A's. In fact, side note, my only time that I got a B was in college. I got a B in English class, of all things. The professor and I argued about this paragraph that I had written, and I thought it was beautifully written, and I thought that it followed the prompt, and I gave him my explanation as to why I wanted to write it that way. He told me to change it. I didn't, and I got a B in that class. I don't regret it though, because, and I often tell my students about this, and I go into a lot more detail with my students about what actually was happening, like what the prompt was, here's the paragraph, here's what happened. But I think it also helps teach me that it's okay to stick to what you believe is right, but it's his classroom. It was his classroom, it's his call. He can decide what grade I get on that paper. So I learned that it's okay to stick with what you believe is right. It may not work in your favor all the time, but I stuck with what I believe is right. I still would stick by what I wrote, but it was his call, and I respect it totally. So I tell students that story because I want them to know that they always have a voice too, and so whenever I suggest something, they don't have to go by it, but just know that I have final say. So if you don't take a suggestion, there is that risk that you will get marked down for it. It's a good conversation to have. So here's why I don't choose groups. Knowing that I am a good student, always was a good student, still am a pretty good student, always learning, always trying to learn, then I would often have that conversation with a teacher when it's group time. They would say, like, they would get in real close and they would go down at eye level, because that's what they teach you in school too, like get down to the child's eye level. Like, Amy, I just know that you can work with anyone, so I'm gonna put you with Alex for this project. Are you okay with that? And of course I would say yes, because okay, the teacher asked me to, so yeah, of course. Sure. In the meantime, here's Alex. And by the way, I'm just like making up names. Here's Alex. Alex very rarely shows up on time to class. Alex will make any excuse to get out of an assignment. Alex doesn't care about school, doesn't care about grades. So guess who's doing the entire project? This lady. And that didn't happen just once or twice. It happened a lot because I was always the kid that could work with anyone. So I vowed as a teacher, I'm not assigning groups because I know how that feeling can just, it's so upsetting because I would have to do it all. So I allow students the choice and I say, you can choose to go with your friend, but if your friend sucks and you know your friend is not going to pull their own weight and you still choose to go with your friend, then that's on you. But if you choose someone who you know is a quality student who will not make you do the entire project, then that's yay, go for there. Now, perfect case scenario is that your really good friend is also great at school and will be able to support you and you guys will work beautifully together. Like that's jackpot, but it it doesn't always work out that way. So the equalizer that I have with this, because I have found that sometimes students go into it with full intentions of like, I'm gonna do half the work, you're gonna do half the work, we're gonna work out beautifully. But then something happens and it doesn't work out that way. So I've created this peer and self-assessment that I just leave in the room. And anytime, it's not mandatory to fill it out, but anytime a student can just like go up there and grab it and fill it out and give it to me, pretty sneakily too. And if there ever is a problem, then I encourage them to fill that out and give it to me so that I can have a side conversation because I can't solve a problem I don't know about. And that's definitely what I have found with them choosing groups and them having that peer and self-assessment as a backup. Then their social skills have increased. They're able to work with others, maybe even work with people that they're not normally paired with. Or, what's so bad about working with your friend or having the choice to work with your friend? I've had some brilliant projects occur just from giving up that choice. So, don't choose groups. Second one is I don't create any seating charts. I hate them. So what I tell students as they come in each year, I tell them my rules. I don't assign groups, I don't assign seats. So you can pick a different seat every single day if you want to. Every single day. What kind of happens is unless I switch up the desks or the tables, then where they sit the first day will often turn into the second day, third day, fourth day. So unless I actually rearrange the physical arrangement of the room, then they'll just stay in the same spot. So I tend to get a little creative with forcing them to have a little bit of change, but I have one rule with that. So I say that if I'm going to give you the responsibility, accountability, you can sit by whoever you want. However, if who you're sitting next to becomes a distraction, becomes a problem, and you're focused more on your conversation than my lesson, then I have ultimate veto power, which means at any point I can say, I was gonna say Billy, but then I use Billy, and then there's a teacher in my building right now who's named Billy, and he had told the student who was talking about my lesson, he's like, oh, tell her not to use Billy. Billies are good, because he's Billy. So I'm not gonna use Billy. Let's say you're sitting next to Akash. Sorry, Akash, I'm not actually talking about you. I just needed a name, and that's the first one that popped into my head. It's not good or bad. It's just the first one that popped in my head. So, Akash. You're sitting next to Akash. You and Akash start chit-chatting. And it's distracting to me and to everyone around. So I'm going to say, okay, you two, between you two, you need to decide who's going to move. And if either one of them whine or have a rebuttal or say, oh, can I just have another chit? No, then they get an assigned seat. So I'm pretty lenient. You can sit by who you want. Every single day you can have a different seat if you wish. And my only rule is don't be distracting. So if I come up and ask you to move and you want to whine and complain, well, then you have an assigned seat. But if you just get up and move, then the very next day, feel free to sit next to your buddy again. I don't care, because it's a new day. So those seem to work out pretty well. I took notes this time, so I'm just referring to my notes. Okay, a couple other things that I like to do. I like to incorporate choice as much as possible in my class. And there are two that stand out to me about having that choice. One is I will assign student choice homework. And I'll just put it up on the board as homework. I'll just say student choice. And the first time that I do it, students are a little bit confused by it. So this is the way that it goes. Student choice homework means I'm going to end the class about 5 minutes before the period ends. And I will ask, okay, look in your groups, talk about what you want for homework tonight. My rule is it has to pertain to the lesson in some way, something that we covered. And that's pretty much, and it can't be nothing. Those are the only two. Has to pertain to the lesson and it can't be nothing. So I give them about 5 minutes to talk. Well, about 4 minutes to talk. I hear from each group from what they've decided. I pick the top 2 and then the class will vote on which one to choose out of those. That way I'm still getting some choice in, like I'm still controlling a little bit of the situation, and then they get the final say in what it is. And what I have found is that my homework completion goes up when I allow student choice. The creativity behind the assignments is just, I would have never thought about it. And then sometimes it's so silly what they come up with. And it could be something off of a tangent that I had said, which happens all the time. So it's fun. And they incorporate all kinds of modalities. So sometimes I had one where they wanted to reenact the plot line of a story. It's like, okay. Another one was to draw out like family time, like draw out the like family dinner, or something with your siblings. Sometimes it's give a family member a hug. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's do that. They're like, wait, really? It's like, yes, go. Give a family member a hug. They're like, but how are you gonna know if I did that? I go, honor code. And it's really simple because, and they're like, oh, I don't want to hug my sibling. Like, well, do you have a pet? Because pets count as siblings too. So, student choice homework. It's great. Try it out. It's wonderful. It is wonderful. Second one is sometimes I let students choose their own consequence. So, let's say something happens in class. There are still situations where I get stumped on what the consequence actually should be. But I know something needs to happen. So I'll handle that in a couple ways. One is I know a consequence needs to happen, but I'm not sure what it is yet. I'll get back to you by the end of the period. That one really freaks them out because then they're thinking worst case scenario. Oh gosh, what's it gonna be? And then the other way that I handle it is meet me in the hall. We have a side conversation, and then I will say something along the lines of, what do you feel is an appropriate consequence? Because you know you can't like throw a pencil to Kevin. Like, you know you can't throw a pencil across the room to Kevin. So what do you think the consequence should be? That kind of thing. Actually, I don't think I would get anyone in trouble for throwing a pencil to Kevin. That was a terrible example. Anyway, because for that, I'd be like, don't do that, and then just move on, because I pick my battles. Anyway, so if there's something where I want them to choose, the reason that I have them choose is, one, it puts the responsibility back on them. It tells them, oh, okay. And then you see their thought process. Depending on what they kick back to you as a possible consequence will be very telling as to how much they think that they've crossed the line with you. So if they come back with, I think I just need to say sorry. I think you need to do something a little stronger. Think harder. Or if they come up with something like, I think you should fail me for that quiz. I don't think I should have a retake. Then I'm like, whoa, okay, let's not go like super crazy here. Give me a different example. So it's really telling to see what they come back with. But I like giving them those choices. It's really eye-opening, and it puts the ball back in their court. Okay, I have a few more things that I thought I would get to, but we are hitting that 20-minute time frame. So I want to pause here. I'm just gonna make another video about some rewards, and then my theory on participation trophies, which I absolutely hate. Absolutely hate participation trophies. No, be a winner or try harder. But I'll make that a whole different video. So have a great day. Make smart choices and be kind to one another. Bye.